Good afternoon, friends. I am Pastor Calvin Lindstrom. I am joined by Mr. Ed Straka, who serves as the Administrative Director for Christian Liberty Homeschools. And we have a very special guest that we are interviewing. And that guest is Justin Straka, the son of Mr. Ed Straka. I'm going to let Ed introduce him and a little more about the subject of our interview today.
All right, Justin is indeed my son. I'm an old alumnus of Ole Miss, long ago and far away. And for the past 5 or 6 years, he's spent a lot of time working on various political campaigns, both presidential, senatorial, governor in Mississippi. And he started out as basically what they call in the business a street soldier, where you're basically going around and asking people to sign petitions and handing out literature and so on and so forth. And with that said, let's just dive in. Justin, share with our audience what it is you specifically been involved with for the past 5 years politically.
Yes, good to be here, gentlemen. Happy to see you, Pastor Calvin. It's been some time.
It has.
Again, apologize for the beard and everything, but comes with it. Mr. Straka, good as always, though most people call me Mr. Straka these days, how the time changed. Yes, my involvement in the business, like you had mentioned, started off in Missouri for a ballot initiative, which is essentially we're trying to let people vote on different issues. This particularly was against a service tax increase, which certainly personal to Missouri. There's out in the Midwest, not it's certainly not a financial tycoon as say downtown Los Angeles and certain other just areas, and it was something very personal. I found to a lot of the people out there. And but yeah, it absolutely was 8 to 10 hours a day, 7 days a week, from DMVs to libraries to other public locations. You're collecting signatures, you're speaking to voters, you're sitting in the snow or standing in the snow or whatever it might be, trying to convince people to speak with you and hopefully to sign the petition. That year especially, it was quite an introduction. My brother Josephus, actually, we can place the blame on him for getting me involved in all of this. I was happily laid up in our Tampa, Florida apartment, enjoying the beautiful women, the beautiful food, the beach, and everything else. And he said, I'm out here in Missouri, man. You got to come out here. Join your brother. I was like, well, I joined you when I came down to Tampa, but all right, let's do this again. And then he was smart and wised up and got out, and being the hard head of the family, I was like, well, I get cussed at all the time, and this is the life for me. So I obviously stuck with it, but it was Thanksgiving Day. This was after Josephus had left. We all got together for about 2 hours, had a little lunch, happy Thanksgiving, and then from there was out getting rained on in a Best Buy parking lot until about 10 p.m. trying to get some of those Black Friday signatures. Well, it was just after Black Friday, but it was quite the introduction, certainly. But that being said, I enjoyed the competitive nature of it. I enjoyed the difficulty of it,
Hmm.
and just learning something completely new about kind of like a peek behind the curtain, if you
Hmm.
will, and into the whole world. That led to following up with, if memory serves, Nebraska. Did another ballot initiative in Nebraska. Very similar, traveling county to county. By that point, started training people, as far as the legal requirements and
Hmm.
everything else.
Hmm.
A lot of folks simply assume it's just some jerk off standing out there, which sometimes it can be, but on a serious project, um, you have to read out, and that by state there's different laws. So I can't just simply ask you to sign a piece of paper out in Nebraska. I have to read you, no matter how long it is, our
Wow.
our what exactly word for word we're doing, and just sit there and kind of as a robot. By the end of it, it still streams through my brain, just the pages of it. But just every voter that comes by, and it's very specific. You have
Hmm.
to keep it county to county. Otherwise, you have to throw the signatures out. They
Hmm.
have to be registered voters. They can't just be
Right.
your random person. You have to
Hmm.
make sure that they've haven't signed it
Hmm.
previously, as much
Hmm.
because you will have people that are very passionate about it. And they're
Hmm.
like, "Oh, well, I've already signed that." And part of you, for the sake of trying to um, look good for the bosses, or potentially get that bonus this week. You want to go, oh, well, yeah, just go ahead and sign it again. It's fine. It does no good. It has to be thrown out. It's more
Hmm.
busy work. It's fluff.
Right.
Um, and had one of the highest verification rates out there,
Hmm.
especially in Sarpy County. Sarpy County, I believe, was my best day. We had a 3-page, um, again, petition out there. And so that not only am I asking you, okay, what county are you in, et cetera, and I've got to get you to sign the first page, and cursive, and then print your name. That I need your address, and then also I've got this other page, and I've got you to, and I got over, I believe, a little over 300 people that day.
Hmm. Wow. Yeah,
That
that is
was
a good day.
Yeah, that was a very good day. But that being said, the more and more requirements were being asked of me, managerial requirements. I was driving about 1,000 miles a week,
Hmm.
just in the state of Nebraska, because you have to get a certain percentage of signatures from every county around the
Hmm.
state in order for it to go on the ballot to be voted on. And
Hmm.
so, we're staying in the highest class hotels, from Hyannis, Nebraska. Don't It's not Hyannis. The people there will be very particular. It's Hyannis. To Norfolk. Sounds spelled like Norfolk, but no, it's Norfolk. And towns with 140 people in,
Hmm.
where showed up there. There was 2 feet on the snow, or 2 feet of snow on the ground, and knocked every door in the town myself.
Wow.
And you gotta, and out there, it's pretty different, because they don't normally have that stuff going on out there.
Hmm.
Um, they think you're with the water people that came there and apparently tried to drill there about 50 years ago. So it can be a very interesting.
It's a cultural shock.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. But you stop by and you check into the hotel. The hotel is also the bar. It's also where everyone goes in the community to, a lot of the folks eat at night.
Hmm.
I first walked in, I got into town, it's snowing, 2 feet of snow, and I walk into this old building, very old town. There was one sheriff, and I would say at least 100-mile radius, just, very small. And I walked in and it's a bunch of families sitting there eating. And I was like, oh, I apologize. I'm, clearly in the wrong location. Like, oh, you come to the bar or the hotel? So just checking into the hotel. They're like, well, stop in for dinner. We got pecan pie, we got lasagna, we got all this over here. It was a great opportunity to, and all of it is to meet with and speak with and see how other people think, how other people live their lives,
Mm-hmm.
their version of America,
Mm-hmm.
as yet kind of untouched
Mm-hmm.
by the world. A lot of times out there, they tell you, hey, there's a storm coming. Go ahead and fill up with gas if you need to. If it rains too hard, all the card, ATMs, the Wi-Fi, everything goes down.
Mm-hmm.
You better have cash on you, otherwise you're not getting gas.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, that was a trip. Was out there all over Nebraska for quite some time. Went up to the top of our beautiful country, Maine, for a little bit. Um, was That was my introduction to canvassing. So opposite of a ballot initiative, you're going out searching for targeted voters,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and that can be segmented into whatever it is that the client or the candidate is searching for, as far as maybe preparation for the next campaign,
Mm-hmm.
or simply what's going on now. Generally it'll be for an upcoming or current campaign,
Mm-hmm.
and you need to speak to that particular voter. You have specific information that you want to get from them, um, and obviously send that upwards, and get that disseminated. And so that was another interesting experience. I was in my mother's, previously my um, wonderful grandfather's, my papa's 98 Toyota Camry, which, reliable as may be, I oftentimes just drove to the general area and would walk about 10 miles or so a day. Oftentimes only speaking with 15 people, because we were in rural Maine for a lot of that. Uh, but Maine is a beautiful place. If you got to walk 10 miles a day,
Mm-hmm.
it was great out there. But that was my introduction there. From there, um, I
This-
realized that I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, tell us about Mississippi. You were part of the governor's reelection program there, right?
Yes, sir. Well, leading up to that is
Okay.
simply after Maine, I had decided, I've been grinding away at this, from state to state, and I know I'm good at this. I know I've got the ability to do more, and for leadership, uh, management, etc. Um, and yet it hadn't really been happening. So I took some time off. I told a very good friend of mine, hey, you know, make me an offer I can't refuse, and I'll come back. And so, time went on, and eventually I got the call of, hey, I understand you are in Jackson, Mississippi currently. And we're trying to get the next governor of Mississippi elected. And so we had, I think, a little less than 2 months before election, if I'm not mistaken. And again, it was that same friend that I'd spoken to previously. And so it's hard to say no to him, as well, I'm already here. Okay. I know I can do it. So that was a breakneck. Just some guy flew in. Here's all the different, CRM systems we use. This is how we log people in. This is how we, monitor and track them. This is, where we, put all their information in, Social Security. You need this and this for us to pay them, these legal requirements for
Mm-hmm.
that.
Mm-hmm.
This is what they need to know. And then you get them out there, and we need everyone in, what was it, Rankin County, Starr County, uh, Hines County, obviously, Jackson there, um, and Madison as well to get out there and vote for our guy. So it was pretty much every day, just we were doing Facebook ads, we were putting up everything wherever we could to go, hey, we're paying X amount,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
come in, and that is the GOTV effort right there, the get out to vote.
Mm-hmm.
So it was pretty much, every day, 10 to 15 people almost in the office with me, and just onboarding them and training them, and, going through, month and a half, 2 months, whatever it was, of
Mm-hmm.
just everyone has to get out there and, get this guy elected. And by the skin of her teeth, I believe we stopped knocking doors an hour before the polls closed.
Wow.
Do you need a ride to the polls? Do
Mm-hmm.
you, whatever it is we can do. So it was a hard push, and we got them through.
So Justin, would you say kind of that nuts or really grassroots is as important as any other aspect of a campaign? Kind of what you're describing there.
Well, I mean, there are people that are certainly paid a lot more than I'm certain I ever could be to come up with those decisions. But
Sure.
the general consensus, I would say, is, approximately 3 to 5% of, the voting sway can, on average, be assumed to be field and
Mm-hmm. Okay.
grassroots.
So in a
Um,
close campaign, that's the difference.
vital, absolutely
Yeah.
vital. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
we live in certainly an ever changing world. But I argue that, if anything, with the increase of technology, it places a lot more importance on that face-to-face interaction,
Mm-hmm.
that
Yeah.
individual that's willing to go out there. And in San Antonio, was regional director of uh, out there in Bear County and the surrounding areas. And be it going to, which that was a whole case in and of itself, but being willing to go out there and, speak in front of 20, 30, 100, 200 people, and actually put forth the effort to tell people about why you support someone,
Mm-hmm.
to stand there afterwards and speak to them about their concerns, about what matters to them. um
Mm-hmm.
Again, in this day and age, it's, so much everything, it's email blasts and
Mm-hmm.
text and Facebook and Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I think more so than it even was, back to the time of Nixon or Reagan. I think it, does even more to have an actual human being show up to your
Mm-hmm.
door and be willing to speak to you about what matters to you and what concerns and issues that you might have.
Yeah, that
Hmm.
makes a lot of sense.
Justin, what's the difference between the presidential campaign that you were on once and the other types of campaign in terms of how they ran, maybe the pacing of the campaign? I mean, you've been on senatorial campaigns in Colorado, and then you were all over the country recently for
Yes, sir.
DeSantis.
Yes, sir. It's one of those things where, which I have such a passion for, because it challenges you personally and professionally and constantly. the as you just mentioned, Mr. Straka, the Colorado campaign, at least the first time I was there. I showed up March 1st, 2020, and I want to say 10 days later, you know, the Great Plague that killed half
Mm-hmm.
the human race,
Mm-hmm.
according to certain people, COVID hit.
Mm-hmm.
And thankfully, by the grace of God, I was still fully paid, um, still staying in, my almost $2,000 a month, one bedroom apartment in Denver, um, locked in there, but trying to figure out. So we had a lot of these constantly Zoom calls,
Mm-hmm.
because everyone had to,
Mm-hmm.
social distance and whatnot, and figure out how to where do we go from here, and how do we make this approach, while still, again, keeping in mind the voter, because if the public concept is that this disease is as threatening as is being said by some people, then we lose all traction and could frankly derail the campaign
Mm-hmm.
by just running out there and going, well, we still gotta get out there and talk to people. So it was an extremely stressful time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I guess, going back to your original question, it's the differences are, I suppose, in that there is generally a little bit more breathing room for a presidential campaign.
Hmm.
And I say that with, hesitation. But there is so many people that have been planning and
Mm-hmm.
pre-planning and setting up for, this is where we want to go. This is where we're going to hit. We're going to have people here. This is the direction. It's just such a vastly larger project
Mm-hmm.
that it requires, so many more individuals to, before you even think of hitting the big red button and saying, let's go, to have a consensus on what exactly needs to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas, granted, as much as a 10, $20 million campaign certainly has extreme scrutiny and planning and preparation for it, um, there's nowhere near as much as can possibly be had by, you know 100, 200, 300 million. Um, and so a lot of it does come down to, again, on the spot, having to make these calls and make these decisions. And we showed up, and I can remember, I won't, mention the other group, but they were supposed to get offices in 10 key counties around Colorado. And person to person, group to group, whatever it was, it hadn't happened. And this is something that I had never done before. You want me to what? Like, well, you're the field team, as often now just the political team called. Uh, make it happen.
Mm-hmm.
So went out and consulted with my good friend who he had. He was the one that got me back um, in Jackson, Mississippi, for current governor of Mississippi, Mr. Tate Reeves. He was out there, and he had done that work before. So, working with him, we went around and we found locations in 10 different counties across Colorado, and did it in under a week, and stayed a little over $100,000 under budget.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but again, that's part of, you have to make it happen now.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have time to, whereas, again, on a presidential campaign, you've got a little bit more, from what I've seen, um planning and preparation, that definitely does not always work,
Mm-hmm.
but usually gives you a little bit more breathing space as
Hey,
well.
Justin, this question might be, maybe it can't be answered, but in a crowded field, let's say the Republican candidacy now, do you think the polling data connects to their on the ground efforts like you're describing, or is it as much other larger media factors that shape how the outcomes are, at least maybe at this early point?
As far as for presidential
Yeah,
or
like a presidential campaign. Yeah.
and again, if you wouldn't mind just kind of phrasing that one more time.
Sure. I mean, like there's a lot of people running now for the Republican nomination.
Yes,
And
sir.
they poll, obviously Trump's way in the lead. Do you think,
Yes, sir.
not including Trump, but the spread that you would see in the other candidates, do you think that's related to how well they're doing the work that you're describing now, or is it just as much other media factors that bring out that spread in the polling, if that makes
Um, yes, sir. Yes, sir. I would have to say that the media plays a huge influence.
yeah.
It absolutely does. Again, and it goes back to my point on why I think it's so important to have that one-on-one, face-to-face encounters.
Yeah.
Because it's I'm guilty of it myself.
Mm-hmm.
Throwing out my age here, but I constantly, pull up and look at the news,
Yeah.
whether it's Facebook, whether it's Google, whatever it is. Um, it's the media is absolutely a huge influence on where voters go and what they decide to do.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Oftentimes for worse.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, well, and it also puts I believe, a responsibility on the candidate to recognize that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Um, I'm sure that I'm gonna get texts or calls, quite frankly, after this, but to be honest, quite frankly, I think with the current gentleman that I was working with, running for president, there is a reason why he was polarizing. There is a reason why he was grabbing attention. There's a reason why people wanted to be around him, and he was being his true, genuine self, and it was controversial.
Yeah.
And I do not believe that he has changed in that as far as his actual actions and his work as governor.
Mm-hmm.
However, I think too many people have around him paid much more than me, um, molded him into basically the happy fifth grader with an awkward smile that says all the nice and right things.
Interesting.
And it it's you whether you like it or not, whether I like it or not, I have to live with it and work with it.
Yeah.
Yes, media is absolutely 100% plays a very major effect in
And
my
what
opinion.
what you're describing, it's not only the media, but then the people who are guiding the candidate, their perception of what they want the media to
Yes,
be,
sir.
right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
100%. Yes, sir.
Yeah. That's
Do you think political parties work well together to get elected in state elections, or is there lots of infighting?
As far as political parties, do you mean Republican versus Democrat or
Or
just
inside
Republicans
a
together?
specific party
Yes,
working
sir.
together?
Understood. Yes, sir. That's something that um is definitely in Colorado and in Texas and several other states have had experience with. You know, uh, there's absolutely an effort to where you have the state party here, where we are the Republican Party of
mhm.
Colorado. And then we have, for example, Joe O'Dea, most recent, senator campaign that I was on out there, or Cory Gardner, whoever it might be. and then you have Barb Kirkmeyer, and then you have someone else running for anything from local librarian to whatever, but they're all Republican. And so, something that, I've had to do is, go and sit down in the war room with, as it were, with the heads of these other campaigns and figure out the messaging, the branding, as it were, of okay, what are your three vital points that you have to get across on your campaign? And can that correlate to what we're doing on our campaign? Or, for example, is potentially, your candidates going to maybe go on and on about election stealing or take us in a direction that our current campaign isn't trying to go. So you absolutely have to, to the best of your ability, work with these other groups.
Yeah.
A lot of them have great, phenomenal resources, guys and gals that have lived there for, 50 plus years and know everyone from top of the state to bottom of the state and how to get people involved. At the same time, if your candidate, which has happened before, and I've never seen it so polarized more than by saying something negative about the second coming of our Lord Trump, forgive me, but then they will absolutely nothing to do with you. You're cut off, won't answer your calls, won't work with you. Here's the keys, have fun.
Even though they're the same political party as you.
I have heard he won't support Trump, then I will vote for the Democrat.
Yeah.
It is beyond frustrating and disappointing and just every negative emotion possible to literally, and that's not just one state versus the other, but it's more prominent in some, yes, but you will run across voters constantly that, be it Trump doesn't support them or they don't support Trump or anything of that nature, and they will tell you bold-faced, I will vote for the Democrat over him.
Yeah, Justin, what you're describing is kind of the irrationality. And I was speaking with my stepbrother, who had been a state rep. When he was going door to door, it was that type of logic that he had to deal with in various ways. It makes it very difficult. And that, to your point, that was what the only thing he could do was the grassroots. He couldn't control all the media imaging. This was obviously a much more local campaign, and that was the importance of going then door to door, and in some cases convincing Democrats to vote for him, and they would say, "Hey, you're the only Republican we're going to vote for, but I can support what you're doing because of that."
Yes, sir.
Effort. So,
yeah, well, absolutely. Just very very briefly, it does reach a certain level of, and to be clear, I love the American people and I love this country, and I wouldn't do this if I did not. And I believe that we are a shining example of at least what others should strive to do and to be, and what we hopefully continue to strive to be. But the level of just lunacy reached when I can speak to you, and I'm like, well, 5 minutes ago you just said that the murder of babies and abortion is absolutely horrible. And my candidate looks to put regulations on that. And yet now you are saying, no, I will vote for the guy that has free and open, no regulations. He's been here for 14 years.
Yeah.
But this guy, excuse, he angered me by not supporting Trump or whatever it might be. It's just,
Have you seen
how do I
parties?
reach these people?
Yeah.
Have you seen political parties sabotage their candidates' campaign through bad decisions?
Oh, certainly. Certainly.
Yeah.
That's one that, I'd rather not delve, too deep in, but
Right.
just, it is one of the nice things and the
Mhm.
frustrating aspects about I guess having an emphasis
Mhm.
in field
Mhm. Mhm.
is that I can sort of Pontius Pilate wash my hands and go, well, they've got it. It's their call.
Mhm.
And then at the same time, I also sit there and go, what in God's name are you doing?
Mhm.
You know, uh, 2 weeks, 3 weeks before elections, and um, these guys will hop on CNN or Fox and just say something that at the end of the day, again, it doesn't boil down to my opinion or in some cases these other folks' opinion. We're here to get the candidate elected, and yeah,
Disconnect.
again, I shouldn't hop into examples, but
Right.
yeah, it can be very frustrating to have to take a back seat to it
No
and
doubt.
realizing that again, it's when your job is, I've got 20 managers under me in 10 different counties across the state, and I've got 500 people under them.
Wow.
And all I do and see is read reports from the voters of this state.
Yeah.
And it gets sent up to me daily. And I have to compile that. And I have to send that up in a condensed format. And the direction that you decide to take the candidate goes a hard left or right, whatever it might be, in complete opposition to what the feedback we've been getting about what people like about the candidate. It completely detracts from it and goes, well, what am I
Wow,
left with here?
Right.
good point.
Yeah. Pick up the pieces. So, Justin, a presidential campaign, it takes on such a different life of its own. How does a Christian say, "Hey, I'm going to be a witness for Christ in the midst of something so massive as a presidential campaign"?
Well, you know, uh, first and foremost, I'm hardly the shining example for Christianity or any of that. I fail constantly.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that being said, it is with humility, and as cliche as it sounds, being true to yourself, um, being honest with yourself. There is so many great, intelligent family men and women, hardworking, and Christians as well.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm sure there's a few on the Democrat side, but we don't need to go there.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
on the Republican side that I've worked with, but there is also a lot of money, and there's also every meeting you're going to have is going to be at the local bar that opens up at 9 a.m. Uh, et cetera, et cetera. Let your
Mm-hmm.
mind wander.
Yeah.
And just being firm with, again, who you are and your convictions and your beliefs, and not wavering on that.
Mm-hmm.
I had a phone conversation with a gentleman I worked with in California, actually an hour before y'all called. I hadn't spoken with him in a while. He had called me up, and you know, Catholic, but Christian himself, and we had discussed some of the experiences we've had, and where I've been directly asked to lie to further things,
Mm-hmm.
and I 100% stand by, and I believe it affected my job and my time there as state
Mm-hmm.
director. And I told the national director, I will not lie to these people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's it's no, like and that's why we have to be an example for others. There's
Mm-hmm.
a reason why I haven't worked for the other side.
Mm-hmm.
It's because that is the type of thing I expect from them
Mm-hmm.
over here. And so it can be very disheartening
Mm-hmm.
to see people on your own side lie and
Mm-hmm.
cheat,
Yeah.
or try and they will try and maneuver you.
Yeah.
And but again, recognizing that no matter how high or small you are, people will, for their benefit, try to manipulate and maneuver you for the campaign's benefit or
Mm-hmm.
whatever else. And it is a fact. I absolutely could have got more done if I lied to these people.
Mm. Yeah.
Um, but again, I'm far from the best candidate to speak on all of that. But I do believe you truly need to, as it were, put on the full armor of God,
Mm-hmm.
and you need to be prepared for everything and anything that will come your way, because it will. And it will
Mm-hmm.
come in money, it will come in women, it will come
Yeah.
in, well, next year you'll get this, well,
Yeah.
just all I need. And again, the cause is good, but do
Uh-huh.
you sacrifice your morality
Mm-hmm.
for the ends justify the means?
Yeah. No, that's powerful. That the book of Daniel comes to mind, and First John 2, the lust of the eyes, the lust of the flesh, and the pride of life. Right? That's it's.
Yes, sir.
I think that's what you were describing there.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So if someone was going to go in, what advice would you have for someone looking to serve the Lord in the area of politics? Well, I guess in some respects, you've already answered that. Be ready for everything and
Mm-hmm.
anything.
Yeah.
And like you said, put on the full armor of God because it's going to come,
Mm-hmm.
right?
The,
I
the,
was
the
going to
only
ask, go ahead.
the only thing I would follow up for that would just be two things. One, get in younger than I did.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
but also just um to learn and grow as much as you can.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
When you have that, because there are so many facets of a campaign.
Yeah.
I am generally one facet of a campaign, which is a very large facet, but there is finance.
Mm-hmm.
There's legal, there's, now again, like I said, in the world we live in, there's media.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many different levels, and just being willing to actually take a step out there and, again, do something that you have to accept and admit I know nothing of. And that, I think, that also applies to plenty of other jobs, but just being willing to actually sit there, do the work for free, but learn how to, again, do something else. Otherwise, thankfully, I've had experienced friends around that I can call and pick up the phone. And, again, how do I find 10 different offices in 10 different counties in less than 10 days and hopefully not waste $1 million? You know, being willing to ask for help.
Yeah.
Again, humility.
On a brighter note, what has been particularly enjoyable for you as you have served?
Oh man, a month ago, within 1 week, I was in the beach of LA, Malibu Beach, and San Francisco Beach. On the off days, to be clear.
Hey, looking for voters there, Justin.
They're everywhere, Democrat or not. I truly do love and have a passion for, maybe it's because my father, you may have heard of him. He moved us around a few times growing up. And just the opportunity, whether it turns out to be the experience I wanted or not, but to go, hey, we're gonna go to Missouri, we're gonna go to New Hampshire, we're gonna go to Texas, Mississippi, Tennessee, wherever it might be. And if I haven't been there before, um, again go back to my kind of long drawn out talk in the beginning of my beginning days in Nebraska and in Missouri, and just you get to see not only how people live, but again how they genuinely think and view our country. I tell a lot of the people that I train to go out and knock doors. I'm like, open with, for example, what are the biggest issues you see going on in your community and the country right now? And I guarantee that person is going to be willing to have a conversation with. Just listen for a little bit. Listen. It's not always about what we have to say. Figure out what their issues are. And so, being able to, as frustrating as it can be, with infighting and everything else, to be able to speak to literally thousands upon thousands of people across the country and hear the passion and the dedication, and meet so many veterans and just politicians as well, individuals from goat farmers to you know lieutenants. You'll it's invaluable. And so yeah, I would have to say absolutely getting to just travel the country and getting to speak with people. Again, as much as it can also be the biggest thing that keeps you up at night with its frustrations, it's also what makes it worth it. I mean, I hiked Yosemite this year, and then it was the Rocky Mountains last year in Colorado. This
Great
country,
pictures, by the way.
it truly is so vast and so beautiful, and it humbles you and it reminds you why you do all this. Like there is again there's beauty everywhere in California. The political nature of the people there and what they are warped into being and doing is atrocious in my opinion. But regardless, there are so many good people there. There is such beauty there. There, granted, a lot of times you have to look through the homeless people and the crap on the street, but it is there. It is there.
Hey, Justin, final question, and this is maybe a loaded question. In the integrity of our election system really is the bedrock of what we call our American republic. Would you still try to encourage voters? You know what? You got to get out and vote, because you would say there is still an essential integrity in our voter system, but what would be your advice there for people that are like, boy, I don't know if my vote even really matters, if it'll even be counted? What
Yes,
I'm sure you come across that.
absolutely.
What do you say there?
Yes, absolutely. You have to. 100%. I was at it was the Memphis Police Department um, softball league tournament less than a week ago.
Hmm.
Got the opportunity to speak with so many men and women and this was completely not work related.
Hmm.
I know people in the force. But I got to speak to so many men and women from all levels, from those that answer the calls to everything else, and just the disheartening stories they could tell me. Everything from we directly can't even do this, or if we do make an arrest,
Hmm.
um, the DA will not prosecute, and they
Hmm.
will be out.
Yeah.
And the damage that that does on a level to our police force,
Yeah.
to where they are even like, we can sit around before we go out, and no new policy change, can't pull over this, can't arrest this.
Yeah.
If you do arrest that, out the door, no worries.
Yeah.
And just guy got shot with an AK um over a year ago, but they caught the guys. One of them got thrown over the fence. Hey, sorry, gotta let him go. Police brutality.
Uh-huh.
And just time after time, which of course are be it politicians, policemen, or citizens itself, have to be held accountable. Of
Hmm.
course, absolutely. But to live in a world where blatantly in our culture and in now our laws, which is what the
Hmm.
Democrats are doing, we are, if not allowing, promoting, do whatever you want.
Hmm.
Not only will you get away with it, you should do whatever you want.
Hmm. Well.
Out in California, they have been pushing a new I suppose it would turn into a law if they can get it through, which would penalize um, store owners from stopping people from robbing them,
Hmm. Yeah. I've
and
heard
you
about
can
that.
get
Horrible.
and you can get charged
Yeah.
from stopping people from taking your property.
Yeah.
You horrible person.
Thou shalt
Uh,
not steal has turned into thou shalt allow stealing.
Absolutely, absolutely. Or we will put you even more in the dirt and
Right.
charge you $10,000 to $20,000
That's right.
for standing up for yourself. It goes to so many different levels, and I have to, and I just spoke to a lot of them, and I said, well, this is why you need to, which first of all, I've said this for years. The Democratic Party have done a phenomenal job of adapting to the modern world. Phenomenal.
Yeah.
They play upon your feelings and your emotions,
Hmm.
and they've done it to a T.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to be a racist. Nobody
Hmm.
wants to be a bigot.
Right.
Nobody wants to be any of the things that they're
Hmm.
going to throw your way. You hate black people too, don't you?
Right.
You didn't vote for Obama. Whatever it might be. These campaigns and these ads, I can send you them ad nauseum.
Hmm.
They it's fantastic because again, they approach, I say attack, but they approach the human nature of trying to be a good person.
Hmm.
And then they shoe in their candidate. Well, this
Hmm.
is the guy that's going to be that. He's going to be nice. He's going to be good. He's for rights. You're taking away women's rights. I mean, and it goes down to, for example, DeSantis and them all calling, don't say gay bill.
Hmm. Yeah. I know.
There is nowhere in that it says any of that.
Yeah.
Any of that whatsoever, you know. And again, it goes to my importance of how the media is. They will absolutely make things up out of thin air, just to improve and move along their point of things.
Yeah.
But the last thing I'll get on here is, you know, San Antonio, and my time there, as brief as it was. San Antonio is more Republican than Democrat. However, there are far more, in several areas, elected Democrats. Why does this happen? Well, because there are too many people gatekeeping and holding back their vote, be it for Trump or anything else. So, you know, my message to people is, what do you care about the community you live in? That you know, family judge in town, the DA, the local, you know, any of these officials that you're like, oh, well, they just keep letting people out, keep letting. Well, then stand up and make your voice heard. You, if you want to, because I guarantee you, you know, while we're sitting on the sidelines going, well, it won't do any good, or well, it's not my guy. You know what the blue says? Vote blue no matter who.
Yeah.
They're actually getting out there and they're doing something about it. They're willing to, you know, get off their behind and actually go vote. And then what happens? You know, I'm sitting in this, you know, country club year and a half ago, 2 years ago in San Antonio, and I'm talking to these old folks, and they're like, these new judges, and they just let everyone. I'm like, well, did you vote for the Republican option? I generally just go for the presidential.
Yeah.
Well, there you have it.
Right.
There you have it. Because, well, my vote, and I believe your vote is absolutely as close to sacred as it can be. It is vitally important. And no, it's not racist or incorrect to actually make people ID to go and vote. But you have to stand up and do something. Because if all of you're going to do is sit there and whine and complain, and that's I love Colorado, I do. But if all you can do is talk about the past times and then hope that one man, who I like the guy, I like Trump, but if all you can do is sit around and go, well, he's gonna make my life better, he's gonna change Colorado, he's gonna change the country, everything's gonna be great. He's not Jesus, he's not God. That's not gonna happen. Get out there, make your voice heard, get into your community. Absolutely, absolutely. These people will try and affect, and they will try and cheat, and they will try and sway the elections. But that's why, if good men do nothing, what happens?
Yep. Justin, we appreciate your time and just the vast experience that you've tried to share with us in, I guess, about an hour. So we appreciate your work, and the Lord continue to bless your service.
Calvin, Mr. Straka, thank you so much for having me on. It was truly a pleasure. Sorry for all the rambling.
It's good.
We'll talk to you later. Hopefully.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.